current age of the universe. It raises intriguing questions about the ultimate fate. Could photons eventually disappear from the universe altogether, leaving behind only the invisible remains of their presence? Some studies even suggest that the expansion of the universe itself may subtly affect the lifetime of photons. As the universe expands, the wavelength of photons shifts, losing energy in a process known as cosmological redshift. While this doesn't mean decay in the traditional sense, it shows that photons can be altered by their environment, gradually becoming less energetic over time. Whether this process can ever lead to the disappearance of photons is an open question. In general, although photons are considered stable, modern physics allows for the possibility, albeit remote, that they're not eternal. Moreover, the question of whether photons can decay or exist forever is not just a theoretical curiosity, but an active subject of experimental research. One of the main tools for investigating the stability of photons is the Large Hadron Collider. Although its primary function is to study the behavior of massive particles, the LHC can also gain insight into the behavior of massless particles, including photons, by observing high-energy interactions. In these high-energy environments, photons are generated in abundance by particle collisions, allowing scientists to observe their properties under extreme conditions. One focus of such studies is to look for any anomalies in photon behavior that might hint at instability or decay. If photons were to decay in other particles, such as hypothetical dark matter particles or axions, these events could leave noticeable traces in the collision data. So far, no such decays have been observed, supporting the idea of photon stability. However, this area remains critical to study because even the rarest decays can change our understanding of photon durability. One experimental approach that has become widespread is resonant inelastic scattering, where light particles are directed at certain materials and their scattering is measured. In recent years, this technique has been refined to test the possibility of photon decay by observing how photons interact with different quantum materials. A recent breakthrough study published in Nature by a collaboration of scientists from Columbia University, Nanjing University, Princeton, and the University of Munster has provided new insights into the behavior of photons. The study used fractional quantum Hall effect liquid, abbreviated as FQAG, a system of interacting electrons confined to two dimensions, to study what the researchers called chiral graviton modes, or CGMs. These CGMs bear a resemblance to gravitons, hypothetical particles thought to mediate the force of gravity. By observing how circularly polarized light interacts with the FQHE fluid, the team gathered evidence for the existence of these graviton-like particles, offering a tantalizing parallel to the quantum behavior expected of photons in extreme environments. The significance of this experiment is the use of polarized light to detect subtle changes in the spin of photons as they interact with a material. This interaction is key in determining whether photons undergo any transformation or decay under certain conditions. The results, although focused on the CGM, provide a template for testing the stability of photons in other high-energy or quantum field environments. By extending this method to more extreme environments, scientists hope to see the first glimpse of photon decay, if it exists. Although such experiments are breaking new ground, evidence of photon decay is still lacking. However, each new advance in detection techniques opens up more and more possibilities to reveal their true nature. Since we've touched upon quantum electrodynamics, or QED, let's let's delve a little deeper into it. QED is based on the photon, the carrier of the electromagnetic force. According to this theory, photons mediate interactions between charged particles such as electrons and protons, allowing them to affect each other without physical contact. QED, one of the most accurate theories in physics, describes how these particles exchange photons, transmitting an electromagnetic force that governs everything from atomic structures to the behavior of light itself. When two charged particles come close together, they exchange virtual photons. Photons that exist for only a short time and do not carry energy in the traditional sense. These virtual photons transfer momentum between the particles, resulting in either attraction or repulsion depending on their charges. This process constantly occurs at the quantum level, invisible to our senses, but fundamental to all interactions involving charged particles. In fact, the very structure of atoms and thus of matter depends on photons holding electrons on nuclei. However, the role of photons in QED goes far beyond basic electromagnetic interactions. Photons are also involved in some of the most counterintuitive phenomena in quantum mechanics. For example, in the phenomenon of quantum entanglement, photons can be coupled in such a way that the state of them instantly determines the state of the other, even if they're light years apart. This bizarre coupling defies classical explanation, illustrating the non-local nature of quantum reality. Entangled photons remain correlated no matter how far apart they are. This discovery has profound implications for quantum information and communication technologies. Another key phenomenon associated with photons is quantum superposition, where a photon can exist in multiple states simultaneously. In such a state, a photon does not simply follow a single path or have a single polarization, but can occupy several variations at the same time. This concept was famously demonstrated in double-slit experiments, where a single photon can interfere with itself as if it had passed through both slits simultaneously. The results of such experiments challenge our classical understanding of particles and waves by illustrating the probabilistic nature of quantum mechanics. What makes photons particularly interesting in the context of quantum mechanics is their very massless nature. As we've already mentioned, photons are considered fundamental particles that have no rest mass, which distinguishes them from almost all other known particles. According to quantum theory, massless particles should move at the speed of light. This property is very important because thanks to it, photons can instantly transmit electromagnetic forces through space while respecting the rules of the special theory of relativity, which prohibits any massive particle to reach the speed of light.